Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to be using scrap wood, IOD products, and things from my craft stash to make some gardening related items, so let's get started. Okay, for this project I'm using an old pallet. I took it apart and then I cut two pieces 35 inches, two pieces 25 inches, and then two pieces 15 inches. And I'm going to put these spacers in between and then attach them all together. And I'm going to make a plant stand for my garden so I can sit like pots on it, empty pots, garden tools, things like that. So I need to cut some cross braces to hold the sides together and then make the shelves to go on the top of it. So that's what I'm going to do next. After cutting the side pieces, I clamped them to my work table so I could easily add the cross pieces to those. I just attached them using wood glue and nails. I used wood spacers between the boards so the side pieces would be wide enough for the shelves. I added a brace where the shelves would be attached and also one along the bottom. When you're making the side pieces, make sure you make them opposites so you end up with a left and a right instead of two left sides. I hope that makes sense. Next, I added the pieces that will attach the sides to each other. I added it where the shelf will sit. This way it will help keep the shelf from sagging. I then turned it over and added the wood pieces to brace the back. This is why you never place your fingers close to the wood you are nailing into. This nail hit a knot in the wood and shot straight up. Okay, so far I've got all the framework done. I've got these on the front and back to help hold it together. Shelves are going to sit on there. I've cut the shelf boards 27 inches wide, and I'm just going to glue it and nail it into place there. Same for up here and the same for the top. Next, I glued and nailed the shelves on. I also added some scrap pieces to the back of the shelves simply because I had some leftover pieces. Okay, I got all the pieces on. Now remember, this is pallet wood, so where all the pieces were attached together, you know, you've got these nail holes. So I'm going to give it a sand and then try and pretty it up so that it doesn't look so well, a little rustic, but not too much. I then gave it a quick sand. I filled some of the bigger holes, the bigger nail holes, with some exterior wood filler, mainly just to keep the carpenter bees from messing with it when they see that hole. Next, I painted the entire thing. Okay, I got the first coat of paint on. I'm gonna let that dry, and then I'm gonna flip it upside down so that I can get the underside painted. I'll probably add a second coat on the top just to protect it because it's gonna be outside. And then I'm gonna decide if I'm gonna stencil. I don't know what I'm gonna do on it yet, but that's the next step. Okay, it's a little too minty green. So I'm going to darken it up with a little bit of stain. I used dark stain over the green paint and then let that dry. Next, I used paint, a brayer, and the IOD Veranda stamp and stamped a few designs onto the shelves. Remember, if you use paint instead of ink, your image won't be as clear and sharp as it would be if you use the ink. To finish it, I simply added a hook to the side to hang a few small garden tools. For the next project, I'm using a small vanity case. I started by giving it 2 coats of paint and letting it dry. Once the paint was dry, I stamped a few flower images to the front. I then applied some IOD seed packet transfers to the front and sides. You could also just decoupage seed packets or pictures on instead of the transfers. Next, I added a piece of a leftover transfer to the top and then used some Dollar Tree stamps and stamped a bird and butterfly to the corners. For the center, I used the IOD Apothecary label stamp and stamped a label and the word seeds to it. I then used another IOD seed packet transfer and applied it to a Dollar Tree tag. Next, I lightly distressed the edges and then used the IOD liquid patina over all of the transfers to seal them. I then applied antiquing wax to the entire thing. To finish it, I used gold rub and buff on the metal pieces and then tied the seed packet tag on. For the last project, I'm using the leftover scraps from the first project. I started by cutting 3 pieces of wood the same size to use for the bottom and sides. I then cut 2 more pieces for the front and back. These I cut into a house shape with the one in the back being about twice as tall as the front piece. I then glued and nailed them together. I also added some small scrap wood pieces along the roof. Next, I gave it a light sand and then drilled a few drainage holes on the bottom. I then painted the entire thing. I was making this to be a bit whimsical, so I painted the top half one color and then the bottom half another. I'm going to add different elements to this, so some of you might not like what I'm adding together. I went through my pre-made resin pieces and decided to use this piece for the door, so I gave it a base coat of brown paint. Next, I used the brick pattern stamp from the IOD Portobello stamp set and stamped that all over the bottom. I then stamped a window image from the same stamp set onto the side of the planter. After I stamped this, I realized there was an image of what looks like a woman in a kitchen that I wanted to use. So I taped over part of the image and stamped that over the window. If I would have seen that image before I stamped the window, I would have stamped that first and then the window stamp on top. It still worked out okay. I then used the clothesline stamp from the same stamp set to stamp the other side. I also added some stamped images to the front and the roof. Next, I finished painting the resin pieces, and when they were dry, I used E6000 and hot glue to attach them. To finish it, I added a metal perch and then sprayed the entire thing with a clear sealer. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed these projects, and I'll see you in the next video.